Hey YouTube, what's going on? Chris here. I want to bring you all an update on Bitcoin. Right now we're at $10,042. We're coming up on some very key areas, guys. The number one thing I can say is don't let this market put you to sleep right now, because this has to happen before the next major breakout. Like I've told you before, I can't tell you whether it's going to be to the upside or the downside right now. What we have to do is pay attention. We have to put our alerts in, and we have to see what happens with this pattern. Because guys, remember, chart patterns, they're never official until they actually break out and they confirm. So right now we're looking at this as either a descending triangle or some type of continuation flag pattern to the upside. Descending triangle would be to the downside. So I just wanted to put that on your radar before we get into any of this. But a lot of people, they're saying, man, the price really hasn't been moving. It's been 4 months now, guys, basically that we've had the lowest volatility that we've had in Bitcoin in quite a while. So these are the things that I want to pay attention to. And a lot of times retail traders, they will basically get lulled to sleep in times like this where it's not really changing. We're used to such fast action, but we have to set ourselves up to be able to follow the whales, whether it be to the upside or to the downside. We want to look for some confirmation. So I'm going to get into all that, guys. I'm also going to do a little article after we do the technical analysis here. It's about the Bakkt futures launch, and it's saying Bakkt futures launch in focus as Bitcoin hints price crash. But what we're going to do, we're going to look at that because, guys, a lot of times, like with this Bakkt stuff, we could get pushed very far down, maybe even to that 200-day moving average until Bakkt comes out, because these large institutional investors, they want to get the best price they can on Bitcoin, and we know this market's extremely manipulated. So wouldn't it make sense if they slammed the price down before the Bakkt futures actually launch so that they could get a better price and then potentially ride that bullish news to the upside? So there's all different types of things that you need to factor in. What I like to look at is technical analysis, price action purely, as well as the fundamental news, because you have to stay up on the news in this space, guys. Things can just happen so quickly. So I'm going to get into all this. If you like these videos, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Appreciate y'all being here with me today. It's September 11th, 2019. It's 1:50 p.m. Eastern time. So I wanted to put that out there right now, okay? All right, guys, so in terms of this descending triangle that we're looking at, we're really chopping in here. Remember, descending triangles are going to have that flat bottom. We have 3 touches there. Up top here, we have 4 touches. So this is definitely, a pretty valid pattern right now. Like I said, we don't have the complete confirmation until it actually breaks out. But the fact that we do have 3 touches and 4 touches would make it a valid pattern right now in terms of just looking at this as a descending triangle, okay? And what I like to look at as well is the candles. Excuse me, guys. The candles are getting much tighter now. Do you see in this range how they're getting much smaller? We're not having any of those real long day candles. And the reason for that is price action is just getting very tight before this break. And something I wanted to point out today, I was getting my oil changed in between clients, and I had my technical analysis book with me, and I was reading it, and I was studying more on descending triangles. And what they were talking about, guys, with this descending triangle is the simple fact that about 65% of the time it's going to break to the downside. About 35% it's going to break to that upside. So that's something that you do want to watch, and what you want to pay attention to is the volume when this happens. And many times, guys, you'll see when you're in these big, gnarly patterns here, either a symmetrical triangle or an ascending triangle or a descending triangle, a lot of times the volume will actually taper off before you have that break. And what I was also reading was, in terms of the apex here, the farther that we go into this apex, the less likely for a breakout to be very large and basically in charge, guys. I'll put it that way. So if we work farther towards the apex, then we won't have as much power breaking out as we would back in this area. So that's something that you do want to watch and pay close attention to, guys, is just the simple fact, how far are we going to go in this apex? Because there's been times where we've actually bounced around in apexes like this until we actually just floated out and there really wasn't any break to happen. So we're just looking at this consolidation. We're going to see what's going to happen. My upside targets, guys, overhead resistance is going to be around 10,955 is an area we're going to have to get up over top here. You can see it there. And then the next stop is going to be 12,119. So that's if we start to make a move to the upside and we get this trend line break here. But make sure if we break to the upside that it's on significant volume. If it's on low volume, most likely it's going to be a fake out. And what I like to see is a candle close 3% up above that trend line. That's going to be something that I pay close attention to. And now, in terms of the downside, what we would look is for this 9,358 to hold. Okay, so this bottom, and remember, the more times we touch this bottom, the weaker it's going to become. So pay attention to that. And I also wanted to let you know, guys, before I forget, I pulled off all the moving averages just so we could really look at support and resistance right now. We're going to get into moving averages, so those will be thrown back on, but I just strictly wanted to look at the price action here. So if that 9,300 is broken, what I'm going to be looking down to, guys, because I feel like it could be a pretty far aggressive fall, is going to be down around that $7,500 range, and then I'm going to be looking down to around that $6,000 range. Those are the areas that I have as support down here, and that's not including the moving averages. So now what I want to do, I want to pull these off, and we're going to take a look at the moving averages and see what's going on there, and I'll show you the ones that I've like to use for Bitcoin. I use different moving averages for different situations. I use shorter term moving averages if I'm playing just a short term where I'm trying to get in and out, and then I look at those longer term ones for the long term investing. All right, so first we're going to turn on our 12 EMA, and we're going to look at these as we go. So right now, guys, we are below the 12 EMA, so that's acting as overhead resistance. The next one's going to be our 26 EMA. That's over top, acting as overhead resistance. So in the short term, we have that overhead resistance, and it's looking like we more likely could get pushed to the downside. The next one is our 50 moving average, which is very significant. That is now acting as overhead resistance as well. So we have those three that are pressing down hard on us. The next one I want to look at is our 100-day EMA. That now is acting as support. So we'll see if we do find some support. Maybe that will be the area that we get our bounce and breakout out of. So we are up above that, and then our 200-day. And our 200-day, we're up above that. So our long-term moving averages, we're treating them as support. Our shorter-term moving averages, they're acting as overhead resistance now, including that 50 moving average, which is significant because this entire uptrend, as you see here, guys, this entire uptrend, and our 50s in pink here, we have been up above it, and now we have basically broken down through it, and we're not holding it right now. And you can see all the wicks up here where the bears were pushing the bulls down. So in this area, we've just had an extreme fight, guys. It's been a very powerful fight. So right now, I'm just waiting. I'm not going to get into any indicators with y'all right now because we're just chopping so much back and forth. I think indicators sometimes, if you put too many on your chart, they can start confusing you. So what I like to use is maybe, you know, all the moving averages that I put up on here. I like to look at Fibonacci, and then I'll do like an RSI, a MACD, and a stochastic, something along those lines, because if you put too many on, they're going to give you mixed signals. And right now, I just really want to look at support, resistance, price action, and the moving averages with you. So that's what we're looking for with Bitcoin right now, guys. You can see the 100 holding as support, 200 holding as support. But if we do lose this 100, which we've been up above now all the way since March, that's going to be significant, and I want you guys to pay close attention to it. So that's Bitcoin right now. Not going to do much more with that. We're going to get into the Bakkt futures article now. So this says Bakkt futures launch and focus as Bitcoin hits price crash. And this is by News BTC, and this is by David Babian. The Bitcoin market is calm even though it awaits the launch of a very bullish product, a set of physically delivered futures. ICE, the world's second largest exchange by market cap, is going to offer trading of 2 Bitcoin futures contracts, one daily and the other monthly, from September 23rd. The contracts backed by Atlanta-based digital asset firm Bakkt have received approval from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, so that's a big deal. Meanwhile, Bakkt also has gained custodianship rights to customers' Bitcoin following permission from the New York Department of Financial Services. And it says Bitcoin investors here, they're feeling cold feet. So I want to point this little bit of the article out to you. But as the date of the Bakkt launch is nearing, the same speculators are feeling cold feet. Bitcoin's volatility has hit a 4-month low going down, as reported by Forbes, indicating that traders are looking at each other while wondering who among them would make the first move. The uncertainty has resulted in choppy price action, a bias conflict that gives no hint about Bitcoin's next trend. So guys, just really, that's all I'm saying. Just pay attention to stuff. You know how the whales work. It wouldn't shock me at all if we had some huge, massive dump. It shakes all the retail investors out. Everyone's freaked out. And then the big boys come in here and they buy Bitcoin cheaper. And that's the next part of the bull run as we move up there. So it was just something I wanted to put on your radar. Am I saying we're going to break down through it? I'm not. But we really need to watch this price action because the price action is getting very tight. And you can see right now we're actually dropping below $10,000, guys, if we go back into that. One moment. Right there. So if we go back into that, you can see that we're getting very tight price action, guys, and that break is going to come, but it's all about being patient. So just wanted to leave you with that, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I appreciate you all being here with me today. Pleasure to be with you, and just let me know down below what you think about this. God bless and take care, my friends.